I'd like to call to order the City of Saugatuck City Council meeting for Monday, August 22nd. If you could all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If the clerk could call the roll.
Anderson. Baldwin.
Here.
Bean.
Here.
Gardner.
Here.
Muncy.
Here.
Stanton.
Here.
And White.
Here.
And could I have a motion to excuse Council Member Anderson, please?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councilmember Anderson from this evening's council meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so on to Mayor's comments tonight. I want to once again recognize the passing of Allegan County Commissioner Dean Kappinga. We talked about it at the workshop, but as many of you read, Dean passed away from a stroke last Monday. For those of you who didn't know, our Commissioner Dean Kappinga, he spent 30 years with the Allegan County Sheriff's Department and was twice named Deputy of the Year. He served 9 terms with the Allegan County Board of Commissioners and chaired the Allegan County Community Action Board and the county's 911 board. Dean and his wife Jan had a passion for missions and served the people of Guatemala for over 20 years and built over 500 homes. He was an incredible representative of Allegan County, and he will be sorely missed. His position has to be filled within 30 days, so I know we'll be hearing more from the board chairman, Jim Story, to find out more on his replacement. So we just hope that you all keep him in your thoughts and prayers. On another note, we just want to recognize our clerk, our deputy clerk, and all of the election volunteers for a successful primary election. We can't thank all of you enough for being a part of it. They were long days, extra work, and we just thank you so much for having a successful election. Thank you, Sarah, and to Jamie, who's not here tonight. And then also, I know many of you have received calls and emails about the closing of Ferry Street, and we are thankful to have representatives here tonight from Douglas to give us an update. So thank you so much for being here. Okay, on to the city managers.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor, and I have similar praise for your city clerk and your deputy city clerk who's here with us tonight. Your city clerk is taking the week off and taking a break, and a well-deserved break. Yes, well-deserved. So they've been juggling a lot as it relates to elections with early voting and absentee ballots, and then in-person day of voting. But on top of all of that, as you know, they've been handling the treasurer and finance officer related duties, a lot of those duties that Peter handled on top of all of their election duties, on top of everything else that they do throughout the summer as well. They're truly a jack of all trades and are extremely helpful. And so I'm grateful to them and their work. Today, Nicole Bradeweg, our new city treasurer and finance officer, started. So she had a great first day. I tend to have her at your next workshop meeting to kind of for a more formal introduction here at a meeting. And then Luke Thompson, the new director of planning and zoning, is scheduled to start next Monday. And we'll have him at your workshop meeting as well.
All right, thank you so much. Any agenda changes or deletions tonight? All right. We will move on to our guest speaker tonight, City of Douglas, just for an update on the Ferry Street closure. We'd love to hear from you. And if you can introduce yourself, let people know at home who are also listening and what your title is.
Good evening. It's nice to be here tonight, City Council. Appreciate you guys having us here. And also want to thank Mayor North from Douglas coming as well, and Lisa, City Manager of Douglas. So we came with a full crew here. So nice to be in Saugatuck tonight. So Sarah, could you open our PowerPoint?
And if you wouldn't mind introducing
Yes,
yourself
will
just
do.
so people know who you are.
Yep. So my name is Lucas Timmer. I am a civil engineer with Prine and Newhoff. We also have Ken Bosma. So Ken is also an engineer with Prine and Newhoff. So I'm going to start the presentation and then Ken will finish it off.
Sounds good.
We have a nice prop for you guys that we might show you later. So yeah, so thank you. Yeah, tonight we're going to give you an update about the Ferry Street culvert. So guessing many of you guys are aware of this closure. It's on the way to an important beach area with Oval Beach and Mount Baldhead. And I also use those areas quite a bit. I'm a big bird watcher, and that's a great spot to go for that. So has some very significant impacts on this community. And we want to give you a little background and some history on this and where we're going from there. So. Perfect. So you can move down to the next one, Sarah. So, there we go. So this is to give just a little bit of history. So I'm a big fan of old aerials. There's a great website called historicaerials.com where you can look at how Saugatuck and Douglas used to look back in the day. So you can see in 1955, the photo on the left there, we can see Ferry Street, and we can also see that there's a culvert there. And then when you look at 1976, you can also see a culvert there, and that's when Tower Marine added in their marina. So if you go to the next slide, we suspect that this culvert has been here for a long time. So we're thinking it's at least 70 plus years old. We looked at some old record plans of when sanitary sewer was put in the 70s. It said the culvert was existing. We looked at water main plans from the 80s. It said the culvert was existing. So we're thinking that this 36-inch corrugated metal pipe culvert has been in Ferry Street for at least 70 years. So this area is very mucky. So we've got soils that go down 30 to 40 feet. Douglas is sick of hearing this, but we describe muck as having the consistency of baby poop. It does not have really any support. It's very corrosive soils. It's not a great place to, put in utilities necessarily. So this culvert was put in a long time ago. Also in this area, we have an 18-inch ductile iron sanitary sewer. So ductile irons, an iron pipe that was placed, back in the 70s. And this is a critical trunk sewer that serves Douglas. So the majority of Douglas's sanitary sewer goes through this trunk sewer, and it's right underneath this culvert. Also, if we go to the next slide, there is a 12-inch water main that is above the culvert. So that slide on the left kind of shows you a plan view. So the blue line there is a 12-inch ductile iron water main. That's an important water main that serves your residents in Saugatuck. The green line there shows the sanitary sewer, and the red line there is the culvert. So we've got a water main above the culvert. We have a sanitary sewer below the culvert. Both are really critical utilities serving both Douglas and Saugatuck. And we have a pretty old culvert. So let's go on to the next slide here. So people, I think, are pretty familiar with sinkholes, right? We've all seen different stuff on national news of massive sinkholes. So sinkholes come in all different shapes and sizes. So probably in mid to late July here, Douglas DPW noticed a sinkhole starting to form on the side of Ferry Street. So this was on the west side of Ferry Street. And what happens often with sinkholes is you have even just the smallest crack in a pipe, right, can start sucking in soil. And then once that soil sucks in, you can get a cavity collapse, and that soil then goes right through the pipe. So when we noticed that, that definitely raised the alarm, because sinkholes are very concerning, and it could lead to other issues that we can go into more detail on later. So we discovered this sinkhole, and then if you go to the next slide, we were able to figure out what the source was of this. So on Monday, last week Monday, we were out there at 8 o'clock in the morning. So the road was closed Friday, and then we were out there Monday morning in the rain, and us and Douglas DPW dug up to locate this culvert. So normally culverts you can see on either end, you can see the pipe. Unfortunately, this culvert, we couldn't find the other end of the pipe. So we had to do a lot of excavating. We located it, and we found a hole in the pipe. So Rick, who's the DPW director, he put his arm into the hole. It's a 1 foot by 2 foot hole. He started kind of moving his arm around, and chunks of culvert were just peeling off. So this is one of the things Rick was able to get, is a chunk of this corrugated metal pipe culvert. So in a sense, we were able to find the sinkhole, which was good. But what we discovered when we looked at both ends of the culvert was how poor, if not severe condition, this culvert is in. Essentially, with minimal effort, the DPW director can touch the culvert and it crumbles right off. So from a public safety standpoint, which we'll go into more detail later, we were very concerned about the structural stability of this culvert. And obviously all the public who use this road on a daily basis to get up to Saugatuck and go to places like Oval Beach. So if we go to the next slide, this just shows an example of a piece. So we have a couple pieces like this that were just easily kind of torn off from the culvert. And when we looked at the east end as well, there are, you can, in a sense, peel that culvert right off too. It's in very severe condition. So if we go to the next slide, this just generally shows you what corrugated metal pipe failures look like. So that photo on the left shows the difference between an aluminized corrugated metal pipe versus a galvanized corrugated metal pipe. So likely when this was put in 70 years ago, it would have been galvanized. At that time, I don't believe the aluminized technology was out there yet. That's more what our newer culverts are more aluminized. But galvanized, when you're in the, I guess, wrong conditions where water levels change, which we all know how Kalamazoo Lake has changed in the last 70 years, and where you have corrosive soils, which is that mucky soil and that clay soil, you can get a culvert that can really rust out. So typically we see rusting out on the bottom where water is. Unfortunately, this culvert is completely submerged right now and goes between being submerged and not submerged, depending on Lake Michigan and Kalamazoo Lake levels. And when we pulled this off the top, and it was this rusty on the top, that was a major concern for us. So American Galvanizers Association, they're responsible for corrugated metal pipes. They indicate, you know, the worst soil types in a sense are dense soils with high moisture levels and swampy soils with low pH values. So that's essentially what we're running into in this location. So let's go to the next slide. So at this point, I'm going to hand it off to Ken. So we kind of gave you an idea of what the problem is. Ken's going to discuss what we've done and what our next steps are.
Yeah, so this is where the rubber hits the road really for Lucas and I. Obviously, when things like this happen, people always ask, why isn't it fixed already, right? Well, first of all, safety first is our concern. And when we identified this situation, our first concern was, do we wind up having something like the picture in the bottom here eventually? And we don't know. I mean, it could happen something overnight. We can get a rainstorm event or something where that culvert collapses. So we told the city of Douglas that it's time to shut this road down and put the detour. And so that's where your detour came into place. It's not something we enjoy either. We spend a lot of sleepless nights thinking about this and knowing that this isn't a joy for your community as well as Douglas either. Like Lucas said, it's a big access to your beach. So we are working hard already to think about ways to basically minimize this shutdown. We've also been looking at a little bit some temporary bridge options. We don't have any particular solutions yet. We've been pricing things out and they have been very pricey. So that's a challenge because you know, there's only so many dollars that go around in a community like this. And so we have been looking at different options on there, but have not found anything that says, hey, that's the magic wand there. In addition, we, along with the city, has spent a lot of time in meetings in the last week since this has happened to meeting with the DPW, your city, Allegan County Drain Commission, Kalamazoo Lake Water Sewer Authority, the fire department, and just talking about all kinds of different things from how are we going to handle emergencies to what are the next steps, who else do we got to inform. So there has been a lot of activity on there. I know it's tough again in the communities to say, hey, what's going on? But there is a lot of things going on. So if we go to the next slide. And now we're at a point too where from the engineering perspective, we have taken a look at possibly looking at even a dive team to check this culvert out. But based on what we've really even seen last Monday with the condition of this culvert, and we've done a lot of research with different dive teams in areas that would video this. And there's a lot of concern we would even get good pictures back based on the cost of this is tremendous as well. So kind of the risk versus the reward versus what we're seeing already. We probably aren't going to go down that avenue. We are already looking at the replacement design. So our survey team has already been out here on site today to pick up for base mapping. We got soil borings happening. So we're looking to put a design together rather quickly. And once we can pull all that together, we'll start talking about, you know, when this project maybe can be done for construction. But even before that, we have some challenges yet of permitting and funding. This is not going to be a cheap project. We have to build a coffer dam on the lakeside as well as a berm on the other side just to dry it up to get it down to where the culvert is. We have found some conditions that we are concerned about with the sanitary sewer already. And we don't even know if there's any issues with the water main. And a lot of that is alluded to because of the type of soils that are in the ground there. So there's a lot of things going. We're trying to move as fast as we can, but we don't have a specific timeline for you today. But we just wanted to let you know that the city is not sitting idly by and they are trying to push forward and get this done as fast as we can.
All right, at this point, can we ask any questions or, yeah, if anyone on council would like to ask some questions?
I'll
Yeah.
kick it off. How long of a gap do you reckon you need to span if you were going to do a temporary bridge?
Well,
If you could, yeah, go on up to the podium.
so we've been talking with our geotechnical engineers and they've been looking at something probably 20 feet, maybe even a little longer. And really the issue becomes because of the depth of the culvert. Just to get down even to the invert of that culvert is 9 feet deep and the sanitary is still below that yet. So.
I guess I think as a city, our biggest concern is the disruption, not only from a public safety standpoint, but to our beach during our high season. And, I think we would like this to be quickly solved in the short term with a temporary solution. And I'm a bit troubled that a temporary bridge solution has not been further explored. I mean, what about the County Road Commission? What about MDOT? Do any of these entities have an emergency response unit? Have we talked to folks in Lansing yet about, the Guard does this stuff all the time.
Yep, the city has reached out to the representative on that with regard to the National Guard. We've contacted different road commissions. There was even conversation once that like from Van Buren County had a temporary type bridge. We got a hold of them and they actually had already sold that to the scrapyard. We've been talking to contractors. Like I said, some of these numbers that are coming in are tremendous from what the idea some of those bridges are. So that's what we're trying to find a balance of. Is there anything that can possibly work? And obviously the time frame to even get it back in here then. So again, you have to coordinate the funding avenue to be able to do that, let it go alone, get it in here. So.
Madam Mayor, if I may. Obviously, the primary concern is the ability to get down emergency vehicles down that way. It's absolutely not an acceptable idea that they would have to go center down to Lakeshore and up to Campbell. How are you gonna, if we don't have an idea about a bridge, how are you gonna be able to do the work and at the same time have availability for emergency vehicles to be able to clear that area?
Yep, so I know we've been talking to the Douglas Police Department as well as the Saugatuck Township Fire District. They have been communicating amongst themselves even on several meetings, and I think they're starting to, I don't know if the right word is comfortable, but they're getting to the point where they're a little bit more comfortable understanding the idea that Ferry Street is closed and that they would have ability to figure out how to work things in there. But we're putting on notice the school, the other different emergency departments and that as well to let them know what's going on. So
I have to say I'm a resident of River West and I'm not comfortable with that idea. I know that it takes me an additional 15 minutes to get anywhere else that I need to be. And if somebody on that other side of Ferry Street is in distress, I don't know how that's going to be an acceptable workaround for.
I
those
truly
residents.
understand your concern. I do, but I think also safety's got to fall on the side of Ferry Street culvert itself. If that were to collapse or night, like I said, the rain we had last week, that's concerning to us. When we see the portions that we have in there, I mean, you see a small start sinkhole, it can go quickly.
So the last I heard was that emergency vehicles could get through there for now, but once the work begins, where, you're going to have to start replacing things, there's no emergency vehicles getting through there, but they can get through there right at this moment or not at all?
Because right now Douglas has some equipment parked in there, so you really can't even get through there with emergency vehicles.
Okay.
Yep.
So what are our thoughts on having emergency vehicles going down Lakeshore Drive that are just, it's so tight through there, especially with everybody trying to use that to get to the beach. It's just impossible right now.
Right, like I said, I mean, I know we've been talking with Douglas Police and the Saugatuck Township Fire Departments. They're aware of the situation. So they are working their plans around that. And I mean, I can't speak all for them. They can come here and address it. But again, if that hole opens in Ferry Street, I mean, that can happen with a fire truck going over there, right? And then we lose a whole fire truck and safety that way. You
Right.
just don't know.
Gregory?
Here in Saugatuck on the Hill, we had an issue with emergency vehicles getting through. And what we did is decided that one side of the road where the Douglas right-of-way would be available. Is there the possibility of putting up a temporary no parking signs down and I'm looking on the east side of the road
On Lakeshore Drive?
on Lakeshore Drive. Is that a possibility? Wondering, that might be a solution that helped our vehicles here in the town get through just temporarily. Another thing I wanted to ask, like maybe both administrations here on both sides, is there a better way that we can communicate to the residents so that maybe we can get a little bit more? I know, and I understand the residents are very frustrated there on Lakeshore Drive. I'm wondering if we can get a better communication out to them, just to let them know that, be a little bit friendlier. Myself and another resident have both witnessed where we're driving down Lakeshore Drive at a 10 to 15 mile per hour. We cannot move to the other side out of people walking this way. And even though they have all kinds of shoulder to get on, there are several residents that feel that they don't want to get off the road, and they've been very, not very pleasant about it. And is there any way that perhaps we can communicate to them that this is temporary and that we all need to share the road, including people and cars? I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I think I know the city has already reached out. I think working with your manager a little bit on getting some addresses and that to send out stuff to your residents. I guess we can always continue to talk about how much more increase in communication can be done, letter, email, whatever it is. We can continue to have that conversation, but that has already been started already.
The city of Douglas did
Yeah,
a good job
I
of
get their
sending out letters to
communications.
everybody. We received snail mail on that side of the river. We did. All the residents on that side of the river received snail mail,
Oh.
ads in the paper, email blasts. I mean, everything short of banging on someone's door was legitimately done by both cities, especially Douglas. I know that they got the updated addresses and sent all those
It's
out.
just as frustrating for us driving down that road that do drive down it as it is people walking down it as well.
You do
So-
not have to tell that to me.
I'm not telling you.
So
I'm
is,
just reaching out to see if we can maybe give them another pillow or something softer. You know what I mean? Or approach it a little bit nicer so that maybe some of the folks that are so frustrated won't be as frustrated and will give us a little bit more patience to work around this.
I guess my next question is, as far as the temporary bridge, you mentioned cost, but is it possible? If we figure out the cost, is it possible to get a temporary bridge through there?
From what we're hearing, yeah, anything is possible. But I mean, seriously, you're probably talking hundreds of thousands of dollars to get what you want.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
I want to make sure we're exploring every single option because it is scary. I mean, people's lives are at risk, when it comes to that kind of response time.
I mean, I regard it as an emergency situation.
Yeah.
It's an emergency. So, let's find the resources. There are funds available for emergency situations. I haven't heard an answer yet about, what any of these other entities that have these funds and these resources have said, which I would like to know. I'd like to know what County Road Commission can do. I'd like to know what MDOT can do. I'd like to know what the National Guard can do. And I'd like something done quickly.
Well, again, we don't have all those answers, but we continue to have several meetings on all these things.
Yeah.
Right? We're still even trying to pull together what the project cost is going to be. We already know it's going to be a very expensive project cost, but we don't have all those costs in to tell you even what the project is. And to go after funding, you have to have an idea what that project cost is.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, thank you. I just want to thank Mayor North and the city manager and the engineers for being here this evening. This is helpful. I know there's a number of people that are at this meeting this evening because you're here. They wanted to hear what's going on. Chief Janik's on the line. I don't expect him to answer any of the questions, but I know that our city manager and superintendent of DPW will be working closely with him and the police in terms of any of the concerns that are brought up at council this evening. I do know that the city has been working with the village of Douglas City to provide whatever support we can. It's outside of our jurisdiction, but obviously has been mentioned by other council members. This impacts our side of the river quite a bit and access to our public facilities. So I appreciate you being here this evening and this is a very hard situation. There's no easy answer. A couple questions I have though is if there can be any estimate about what the cost might look like. Though it's not borne on us, I'd just be curious to know. And then two, more importantly is, can you give any kind of an estimate? Are we talking 3 months? Are we talking 6 months? Are we talking, half? That's, I think, going to be foremost in my mind as a council member is what do we actually have to plan to? And then more importantly, what can you tell the community about what they can expect?
So some of that timing might be tied actually to funding, which we're pursuing, right? Because if you get into some type of grants, well, what do we have to do to get grants? Or if there's some other avenue of funding, which we're trying to look at all avenues, right? And it depends on some of that. Some of it's going to maybe depend on the way funding goes, how permits and that are required and all these. So to give you a time frame is very difficult for us to do right at the moment. I mean, honestly, yes, it could get into before next summer that could happen.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with this, considering the fact that the summer is beginning to wind down, unfortunately, and we're going to be getting into fall and the construction season is impacted with the engineering and permits. I can imagine it's probably lucky to get this started before the snow flies.
Yep. But
Would be-
we are
yes.
doing
Plus
everything.
finding the contractors to do the
Right.
work too, right? They're all booked out for the season. So, and I don't say that to be judgmental. I'm just saying it's the fact of the matter.
Right.
I don't want to go worst case scenario, but I think we just need to tell everybody what truly worst case is and best case is usually what will happen,
Right.
right? And
Yep.
I have confidence in everybody involved to get it right.
And that's why we are working as hard as we can. I mean, again, we pushed our surveyors up. They were out there already today and soil borings this week to get that base mapping going, to get it done so we can get this thing out for bids and get as quick as we can. Yep.
Yeah, and I know if Chief Janik would know if there's any kind of emergency funding that we could, put into place. Because I just feel like, a grant could help with some of that, but the emergency aspect of it, if there's emergency funding, I feel like that's where we need to be looking right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're keeping our doors all open all over for wherever that can be, right?
What-
I mean, this is going to be a big expense for the overall community. There is no doubt.
Would it help for us to personally reach out to Joey Andrews? I know Joey pretty well. I'd be happy to reach out and call him on behalf of this project. Is that going to help? I assume you have, Mayor North. I assume you have, but would it help to have more voices? I'm willing to offer that help if it's going to be. More than happy to call Joey and talk with him about it. So.
I appreciate you keeping all the doors open, but I'd like to see more door knocking as well. To see how we can get this done faster. I have to agree with Mr. Dean next to me. If this is something that's gonna be drawn out, I mean, we need to think about a temporary solution. If this is something that, we can't get into construction until, next spring, we really need to consider some kind of temporary bridge or something like that. So I
Well-
would hope that that would be considered.
Will it remain open to pedestrians and bicycle traffic?
Yeah, we have no issue with that. It's the vehicles and the weight. Yep.
Okay, so pedestrians and bicycle traffic until further notice, it's
Sure.
fine to
Yep.
pass? Okay, that's good to know.
Russ, did you have something else?
I don't. No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that has any questions? I don't know that I can take any questions from the audience at this point, but we would be happy to take your questions and pass them along. But at this point, thank you so much for being here, and we really appreciate you all being here and keeping us updated. I know it's a terrible situation. We're all frustrated, but we really appreciate you all being here and updating us. All right. So now we're going to move on to public comment on agenda items only. If anybody would like to speak in the audience first, and then we'll move on to online. You can come on up.
Well, I was just wondering if I could address, you all on, the interurban, the effect that the closure has.
Absolutely.
on
Go
the
ahead.
Interurban itself. I'm Becky Carton Crandall, the current director of Interurban Transit Authority. And
If I could have everyone in the audience keep it down. Unfortunately, our acoustics aren't great, so it's hard to hear. So go ahead, Becky.
there you go. On the weekends, we have to shut down our service that we provide going into Oval Beach. And it's usually shut down around 11:30, between 11:30 and noon, just because it takes a bus 45 minutes to go around and then get into Oval Beach and then come back out. So we just cannot take a bus out of service for 45 minutes. And the other concern I have with this is school is coming up. And they have communicated with us and they're asking for us to carry some of those students because a bus cannot go down there and then get turned around and then come back up. So that is going to be another load for us to carry. And so I have a little bit of concern about that. Obviously, we'll get it done. Kids need to get to school. But I just wanted you guys to be aware of how it is affecting the interurban directly. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah, just a quick question. Thank you, Becky, for being here. So how many kids are on the west side of the river that actually go to school in Saugatuck? I'm curious. You know? Not that that's your
No,
responsibility.
no,
but-
yeah. It's between 3 and 7. I know we have 3 currently right at Mount Baldy. And then we have some other ones up off of Campbell and stuff. So
Thank you.
All right, Becky, thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
Anyone else in the audience want to speak on agenda items only? You can come on up to the podium. You can come up to the podium. You can't speak from the audience. Everyone needs to hear you online as well. If you could tell us your name and where you live.
We live on 241 Park Street, so we go around and I know you talk about a temporary fix, a bridge and stuff, but that's very unlikely. But can you put it, it's a 36-inch culvert, you say that is it sinking or is it just rotted? Why can't you line it, put a cement liner within it and just, because if 30, go to a 34-inch or a 30-inch cement liner, you push it all the way through where the hole is, you fill that up with sand and cement, put blacktop on it, and it would work.
For one, because we can't access the submerged water.
With a crane, you can't.
So it's completely underwater right now,
Yeah.
so we require coffer dams, which needs state permitting.
Okay,
And
So,
the culvert we have concerns with the condition of the culvert right now that it couldn't even be lined. So we've talked with lining companies,
Okay.
we know, work with tons of lining companies.
all right.
And at this point, there's serious concern that you can't even line it.
You can't shove up cement liner.
No,
okay.
it's a good question.
All right, well,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, yeah.
Steve Mans, 568 Wyrick, not on your agenda items, but also while you still have the Douglas people here. On Monday mornings, when Republic comes through and picks up trash, we do need to do a reach out to them because they use the arm on the truck. They set the trash cans down, but they're not pushing the trash cans in. Many of the trash cans this morning, they fall over sometimes when the arm lets go of it, and they're like anywhere from 6 to 8 inches in the roadway. And so there was a lot of cars that were backed up because they had to wait to get around. So I don't know if Douglas has the capability to talk to Republic, or you bring out somebody from street and sanitation and have them manually go in and kind of push all the trash cans back off of the road. That would just be one item that would definitely help over in that area.
Steve, thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Please feel free to come to the podium. Yep, just state your name and where you're from.
Nick Masters, co-owner Holiday Hill Resort, and I'm here representing Beachway as well. Obviously, thank you for your time and the explanation tonight. I wanted to echo some of council members' statements here tonight. This is an emergency situation. This isn't a leave our door open and wait for somebody to walk in. We need to be banging on doors here. I grew up on that side of the river. When you're driving down on Saturday last week, down Lakeshore Drive, you could never get a fire truck through there. If we had somebody at our resort having a heart attack, they're going to die. This is an emergency situation. It needs to be dealt with now. And we need to go to higher levels to help find that kind of funding and get this done, because this isn't just a safety of the road issue. This is a safety of the community issue. And it's the safety of everybody coming up and down there, or if we have a drowning at Oval Beach, or any of these people that are visiting that don't know the water or don't feel, and don't understand the dangers of it. This is a serious thing. And when we close it on a Friday to start work on a Monday and let it sit all week, and you watch that disaster happen, it's like it's seriously impacting all of our businesses on that side of the lake. And we can tolerate that from a business standpoint, but from a safety standpoint, I understand it's a safety of the culvert issue, but it's also a safety of the people on Lakeshore Drive and the people that live over there on getting emergency vehicles through. And I haven't heard any explanation, and I'm curious and want to hear what that plan is. And if there isn't one, we need to make one. And I, for one, as an owner of that side of the river, will be here to help however we can, in any way we can, and help to also communicate to our friends and neighbors on that side of the river as well. So always here to help, but extremely concerned.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak? Go ahead. I understand. Lisa, City Manager Douglas. I do understand the frustration for everybody right now. This is the worst thing that could happen. But I think everybody needs to understand something. The state has the entire state to take care of. They're more concerned about sandbags on Douglas Beach with plastic pieces on them than they are about this issue. The state will likely not give us funding, nor will the federal government, because there are culverts all across this state that are falling apart. There's bridges, there's issues, there's a ton of things that are happening. If there's grant funding available, absolutely, we can apply for it. They're not going to write a check to us. This is going to be upwards of $500,000 if we're lucky. We're also concerned about if that collapses, we will have sanitary sewer running into the water. We will have no water running, which the fire department is very well aware of on that end. You cannot fix those things overnight. You're talking, I was stunned to see where those utilities were placed. We are meeting with Kalamazoo Lake Water and Sewer Authority this week. We're meeting with engineering teams this week as well. We are going to start to talk about the numbers. We're going to start talking about timelines. We did recommend to Chief Janik, which he is aware, it's up to him, if maybe he could park one of the rescue vehicles on the other side for now, just while we figure some of these things out. We are not flush with cash. We have lead lines. We have all types of things that we have to do. And we're going to do everything we can to cobble this money together to ensure that we can do this as quickly and as efficiently and effectively as possible. But we are also insured as well. And we did get a recommendation, well, no, not really, a mandate from our insurance carrier, which the fire department also has the same insurance carrier, that if our engineers are telling us it is not safe to cross that, and we allow that to happen, something happens, not only is that gross negligence, the city also loses its government immunity. I'm not doing that. But what I will say is that we're not taking this lightly. I've spent day and night on this. I have spent at that bridge every single day. We have been knocking on those doors. We have been asking for help. I have been trying to figure out in our budget where we're already going to shift these funds, because I know how important this stretch of road is for everybody. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands that. I may be told to go pound sand, but we are really working our tails off to try to figure this out as quickly and expeditiously as possible, because it is an inconvenience for everybody and we understand the public safety aspect. So thank you. Appreciate it, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak?
Harry Masters, part owner of Holiday Hill and also a Douglas resident. I just wonder why we can't put steel plates over that as a temporary situation. And I see that all the time in the big cities on the highways. They were working construction and they put plates over it, cars, trucks, everything's going over it. And I don't understand this completely.
Hopefully we can get a response on that at some point, just not during public comment, unless,
Yeah, I mean, Mayor, it's up to, I mean, you could certainly, suspend your normal practice here and
Okay.
considering the circumstances.
Would you mind going up and explain maybe why that's not an option?
we're
You want to continue? Go ahead.
Just if you're parking an emergency vehicle on that side of the, how are you gonna get somebody over to that vehicle to take, and then bring somebody back? You're gonna have to get helicopters to fly in or what? I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's gonna be, take the ferry across? It's just not-
So if you guys wouldn't mind getting up and at least answering that aspect of it?
We are not ruling out the plates. We have been looking at the plates. One of the issues that we've been dealing with the plates still is the expanse. Those plates are only so long that typically in there and, talking through with our geotechnical engineer, that burying has to happen on the ends in order for it to occur. The other thing is, just, even if those are done there, if that can be done, there's going to be a very reduced speed and there is a lot of risk of, but it's easy to say. But when people are driving at night and they're cruising right down there and they're not paying attention and they go flying over these plates, there's an issue there too. So those are all things that we're looking at right now.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to come to the microphone? You can come up to the microphone. If you could speak in the microphone so people can hear
All
you. Yep.
welded together, I can't see that failing. 1/2 inch, it comes in how big? 8 foot by 20? You lay them out, you get a guy, you weld them all together, and there's no issue. You can even weld safety rails on the sides of them. And a 1/2 inch steel will hold a semi truck with no problem, because you're floating that weight over everything.
Again, I understand you're saying we're also looking at the safety of the approach of those coming on, people coming to as
That-
far as
it would-
approach. So
It would just, I don't get, there's not a problem there. You'd have your asphalt and you shave it down so the plate would line up with it. Big deal.
I understand what you're saying. But I deal with a lot of traffic and a lot of construction and other things happen that we have to watch.
Well, this is a lot less risk.
All right, we can't go back and forth at this point, but these are concerns that we can have addressed.
Risk with that plate than running those trucks up and down through that little beach path. Because that's dangerous. Something's gonna happen there, God forbid, but
Right.
I'm done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, anyone else in the audience? All right, anyone online with their hand raised? Okay. All right, at this point, we will close public comment. And again, thank you so much for being here. All right, we will move on then to our consent agenda. I don't have the page number on this one, but let me pull that up real quick.
3.
Thank you. Does anyone have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, a few questions on some of the items. The Mount Bald Head bike rack, I was at the park this weekend. I really think a spot to the west of the pavilion would be ideal for the rack. There's a lot of space there, and I saw some people that had their bikes up against the retaining wall and so forth. I think that would be just a natural spot to put that rack in. So as I mentioned at the workshop and went over there and visually looked at it, I think that would be my recommendation on a good placement. And then on the Nancy Kimball reappointment, going forward, I would ask that commission and board appointments be brought to the workshop and not included as consent agenda item, just so we can have some information, questions about reappointments. So I would ask that.
Okay.
And also, were there any responses to the application advertisement that the clerk put out? And I know Jamie's not here this evening, but
Yeah, I can
That information.
answer that. Yeah, there was
Thanks.
one applicant and we're working on getting a interview set up actually this week with that individual.
okay,
There's,
thank you.
there's one vacancy, like true vacancy.
The interviews are
yep.
this week.
Okay, thank
That
you.
was all posted.
The last question is on item F for the right-of-way signage request, which was not on the workshop last week. Where is this event being held?
At Wicks Park, I believe. Bar and Grill. It's a fundraiser.
Fundraiser at Wicks Park.
Is it, yeah, the application itself didn't list the actual
Yeah.
event location, so.
And I think there's more to it, but I believe part of it is at Wicks Park Bar and Grill.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on the consent agenda? Go ahead.
I'd like to commend the Boy Scouts for providing some solutions to our city. I think you guys are showing and representing, and I appreciate that. As far as the bike rack goes, you guys both did a great presentation for the bike rack and for the Oval Beach Life Jacket Loaner Station. I think that's a really good idea. I just want to make sure that we're clear that although we are going to help financially with the bike rack, that's not going to be a big cost for the great benefit that it's going to provide. But I just want to be clear that the Oval Beach Life Jacket Loaner Station is contingent on that you're going to be raising funds as you showed us in your, so that we're not liable financially for that, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. Great job with that. And thank you for bringing that to us.
All
Well
right.
done. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to commend our Eagle Scouts. These are,
Eagle.
yes.
Thank you.
These are great service projects and two very worthy causes in town. So Brooks Massing and Anthony Carlotto, thank you so much for those presentations. And again, thanks to Nancy Kimball for wanting to serve on the Parks and Public Works Committee. Thanks to her for all of her work on the Blue Star Trail. So we really appreciate everything she does for our community. At this point, this is a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 All right. Moving on to the staff reports, boards, commissions, and committees. Staff report from the city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I kind of touched on the highlights that I had to provide tonight during my manager's comments, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Anyone have any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Russ.
just one question. I've had, with all the attention on short-term rentals, I've had a couple of people in town ask me how they can actually see a list of those that actually have active certificates.
Okay.
Is that online through Granicus? Is there some way that people can access that information? How does that work?
Yeah, so a couple different options there. If somebody wants to, submit a request to us, they can. And I mean, we have a list that's updated on a regular basis. And,
Okay.
we give that out quite frequently from folks that ask.
Is that a FOIA request or is that just a request to the clerk?
Well, the FOIA
Vendor.
request through the clerk, yep.
Okay.
And then, anybody can search any address within the city. If you Google City of Saugatuck BSNA, and we're gonna have these instructions out actually, hopefully soon. We build out a short-term rental section of our website. You can search the address and it'll show you if they have, had a past short-term rental certificate, if they have an existing short-term rental certificate or license, and that's all public, facing. And even if you ask for the report from the clerk, it's not gonna be a charge. It takes, very little time to get that information. out
Great.
there. So,
Okay,
yep.
yeah, encourage us to continue to make that public information.
Sure.
So make it easy for people to get to it. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Go ahead. Greg.
Just a real quick question. I brought up a couple weeks ago, that I noticed that, we had, some parking signs on Culver Street, one for 2-hour parking and another for 15-minute parking out in front of, one of our restaurants there in Culver. And I recall the conversation where we talked about removing those. I see they're still up. Or is there any plan of action to remove those or?
I sent that on to our DPW director. I'll follow up with them tomorrow during our team meeting and see what the
Just
status on
free up
that
a few
is.
more
Yep.
parking places for folks, that's all.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'll move on to the treasurer's report. Is there anything you would like to highlight from the treasurer's?
No, we're kind of getting into audit prep season and the auditors are requesting various documents. I've spent quite a bit of time learning about the various documents that are needed. And so it's been a good learning experience for me too. But other than that, nothing in particular.
Okay. Anything from the clerk's office? All right, Sarah, thank you. Planning and zoning, right back at you, Ryan.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of questions we're answering about, certainly short-term rentals, but, other projects that folks are working on. So I appreciate everybody's patience as I've been doing 2 jobs. Again, Luke starts on Monday and it'll take some time to get him up to speed, but that'll be, certainly some help with the current lift. And we'll have a fully functional team here in the next several months as folks get trained and up to speed, and looking forward to that. So.
Great. DPW, I don't, if Scott had anything he wanted to highlight or anything.
Not in particular, but if you have any questions for him, I'm certainly going to follow up on Mr. Muncie's question and
Okay.
I'll get back on that.
All right. If anybody else had anything they want to send on to Scott, please do. Sheriff's Department.
Sergeant Haas is on vacation this week, I
Okay.
believe, so.
All right. Is our engineer online?
so-
No. We don't have anything there. Okay. So moving on to our boards, commissions, and committees, Dan Fox, if you'd like to come on up for the Fire District Administration Board.
Dan Fox, Council Representative to the Fire District Administrative Board. Where you yell at me for texting during your meeting. I've been back and forth with Chief Janik on some of the stuff that came up here. No. Greg, flag me off if you don't want me to quote this. But among the things he said, I'm not going to read all of it because, but that it is possible for the fire district to station 24 hours on the other side of the river, one engine and one EMT truck, 4 people. They'd need to have accommodations at Beachway. I'm sorry that guy got out of here before he was able to offer free accommodations to do that. She sounded like he should be willing to do, but we'll see. So anyway, they're doing their best to try and address this. One of the points, as one of the guys mentioned, you know, yes, you can get somebody with an AED device quicker that way. Doesn't mean you can get them to Holland Hospital quicker that way. It's going to be what it's going to be. You know, we had some of these issues. I was sort of gratified that the Douglas people getting hammered didn't return the favor by saying, I don't remember you guys being so concerned about Douglas when the fire trucks having trouble getting south of the roundabout or that, but whatever. Anyway. The point is there's creativity and a very strong willingness to do whatever it takes to ameliorate this, or at least I don't think you can solve it quick, honestly. I mean, it'd be great if you can, but if you can't, this is whatever you would call it, a mid-range kind of solution, perhaps. Separately, the fire district board meeting is a week from tonight, week from late this afternoon, 4 o'clock. So we're off cycle like we often are every other meeting or whatever with you guys. But the late this afternoon, very late this afternoon, I got the statistics for July, and they're presented here. I can go through all of them. You probably don't want me to, and I don't really want to, but as to sorry, can't do that. As to EMT calls, we do not have the updated Life EMS stats yet. Those will still be forthcoming. So we'll have them by our next meeting, but we don't have them here. But as you can see, total calls are up. The response time is up, but reduced from what it was last month as the roundabout issue it has resolved, in the process of resolving. But overall, I mean, the incident calls are 20% increase. That's a big deal. And if you look at the one of the ones that you may or may not focus on, but we do and the fire district does, is the pardon me, the overlapping calls, which is 2 or more calls at the same time, which really stresses resources, particularly human resources. And that number is now whatever it is, what does it say? 34 of them, but 31% of the total calls are happening simultaneously with something else. So an issue for us. Other than that, you're welcome to sharpshoot me on any of these statistics, which are almost as new to me as they are to you. Sharpshoot, you know that expression.
Dan,
Yeah.
if I may, Mayor, I think we could really use your help in arming our friends in Douglas with some facts that would help them communicate to other entities that for us, this is kind of a state of emergency. And I think if the department could do a little bit of an analysis of increased response times, the risk, things that you've done very well for us in the past around difficulty of emergency vehicles navigating on the hill. Any type of document that you could create that we could then share with our friends in Douglas might help arm them. I think, I understand. I think they're looking at this as a project. And in my view, they should be looking at this as a state of emergency type issue. And they probably haven't had the opportunity or the chance to sort of really look at the emergency it creates for Saugatuck. And I'm wondering if the department could help us by putting together a piece of work. And just off the top of my head, some of the things I think of are increased response times, the complications of trying to locate a vehicle and a crew or vehicles and a crew over on the other side, and what that does in terms of taking away other capabilities for larger incidents. There's probably things I'm not thinking of, but I think it would be really helpful for us to get from you something that we can share with our colleagues in Douglas to help them, communicate to some of these higher authorities. These are the MDOTs of the world. These are the county road commissions. These may be our local or, our electeds in Lansing. Some cities, if this was in Saugatuck, we'd probably be talking about a state of emergency for our city because of the danger to some of our residents right now. And I think if we can get more things to help communicate that to Douglas so they can communicate, because our hands are sort of tied here. They're the ones that have the project and it's it's within their, city. But it's impacting us from a public safety standpoint, much more than it's impacting them from a public safety standpoint.
Right.
So any thoughts you or the team might have?
A difficulty in that is a lot of what you're talking about they're going to be hypothetical they're going to be hypothetical.
Right.
They're not going to be, I can't tell you, chief can't tell you what the response time is. We'd have to go to our numbers now to see what our response times are by that location, and I'm sure they're probably above 7 minutes just because it takes that much time to drive all the way the hell around there. So you're talking about it. I'm wondering, related to that though, the risks are sort of known risks. They're the population that are separated from here by that issue.
Yeah.
And that's a number of people whose ages you can probably gauge and health conditions you may be able to be gauged or at least speculated at. And I would put that from this body, from the city of Saugatuck, our best, I'm exceeding my authority here, but our best shot at creating our own state of emergency for Joey Andrews, for one, for whom, all the way up and down, for this, Jim Story.
Mhm.
We've got a state of emergency. This is who is at risk. This is the number of children. And this is the issue.
And the point is, we're just asking if the chief or, could,
The chief would be happy to, do what we can.
Yeah.
But in terms of statistics,
No.
it's.
I realize it's hypothetical, but I think we could probably figure out how,
Be happy to,
yeah.
you guys get a 3-person committee together to try and, frame the nature of the Saugatuck state of emergency. Call it what it is. Publish it. Get it to the newspaper.
I take your point. I understand about the hypothetical. I guess my concern is something real happening. And, and I want to get ahead of this before something real happens, like we had a few years ago at Opal Beach. And once again, the response time perhaps wasn't enough. So,
First-
yeah,
First information the fire district had on this came from Douglas Police,
right.
working direct with the chief. And the fire district was told, in an emergency situation, you'll be able to call Douglas in advance, departing from the station or upon the issuance of the emergency. Call in advance, we'll pull equipment, we'll move barricades, and we'll get you through. Now, that may be a 3-week solution, it may be a 2-week solution, it may be a 10-day solution, I don't know. But that was what we were
Well,
getting.
that was what we
They
were
already said it's
originally
over
told,
tonight,
and they
yeah.
already told us we can't do that anymore. That's why it's an emergency even more so now, because at first they were told, we were told that emergency vehicles could get through. They would pull the barricades and we would be able to get through. But now they're telling us, now that work has been done we can't get emergency vehicles through there now. It's not a choice now.
Well,
So,
and I'd take Gregory's point as well. I mean, anything, getting parking off one side of Lake Shore Drive is a
yeah,
major step in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's time.
anything we can do. All right.
And real quick, I just want to give Chief Greg Janik and the whole team there a pat on the back. Even though your incidents were up, your emergency calls were up, you did decrease your response time just a little bit. So even though all these numbers are up, you're staying real close to your average response time. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. Well, and that, remember too, those are July's numbers in the first part of July.
Right.
That roundabout closure was still in effect. I don't forget
Right.
what date it ended, but it was a couple of weeks into July, as I recall.
And then also I saw that the completed construction, the roundabout has so far not caused any incidents.
Meaning, nobody's driven through the roundabout yet and killed somebody or.
That's what I mean.
missed the stop or,
I just wanted that clarified for the record.
Okay.
you don't want to speculate on how many.
Is there any,
things could go
is
wrong.
there anything else? All right, we'll move on then. Thank you, Dan.
Dan.
Interurban.
Gregory pointed out I'm double parked out front, so.
Yeah, there's that. Gregory, Interurban Board.
Huh?
Interurban Board?
Oh, I'm sorry. I reported at our last meeting, everything that we did through June, but I will remind you that June numbers, we're expecting July numbers to be up, and we'll see those on August 22nd at our next meeting. Our ridership for June, though, I'm going to remind you, was up almost 22.5%. We carried about 1,600 more passengers in June. So we're expecting July numbers to be up as well. We're still working on our capital grant progress, looking for somebody that will expand our building because it's such a small project. It's a federal project. We're having a problem finding a small company that likes to do all that red tape. And other than that, I just want to remind everybody that we still have free shuttle service going on throughout the weekends. It has been extended till 11 p.m. So you can park wherever you want. You can park in Douglas, you can park at the high school. There is places to park in our towns if you don't mind taking the bus. And it's only $1. We also have the free shuttle bus for music in the park between 7 and 9. And we want to thank Liz Engel from Century 21 for providing that.
Okay. Any questions for Gregory? All right, we'll move on to Cal Lake Sewer and Water Authority. I don't believe Barry is on. All right, so Cal Lake Harbor Authority, Logan.
Last meeting was canceled. We're looking forward to our next meeting in September.
Okay, sounds great. Zoning Board of Appeals, anything?
They didn't have a quorum this month, but they will have a case to review next month.
All right, Historic District.
August meeting was canceled. Our next regular scheduled meeting will be Thursday, September 5th at 6 p.m.
Okay. Planning Commission.
They meet this Thursday and we'll have a public hearing on the short-term rental items.
All right. On to Parks and Public Works.
Nothing to report at this time. We meet at the fourth Tuesday in August.
Okay. Tri-Community Non-Motorized Trail.
Nothing new since our last meeting.
All right. No request for payment. On to approval of accounts payable. Do I have a motion to approve accounts payable?
Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to approve accounts payable in the amount of $97,398.02.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All right. It's a roll call vote.
One sec. Sorry, what was
Yeah.
the amount on that?
698,
Oh, so-
4284.
So which one is it? Because I have a different number here on paper than what I have here.
All right, yeah, it should be,
For the- for
yeah,
the
$698,542.84. We have a lot of tax pass-throughs on this
Mhm.
accounts.
Was that
payable.
updated since what
Nope.
page is that again?
59 is where I see total all vendors.
Yeah, and it's on page 2. Is it different on your written version?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It was, as I stated.
If you go up to page 2, Gregory,
Uh-huh.
Very top of page 59.
number 12, it shows accounts payable in the amount of $698,542.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's different than our page here.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
yep.
Yeah, I got it. I'll make a motion for the accounts payable in the amount of $698,542.84.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification. Any discussion on that? All right.
Yeah, so $550,000 of,
Pass.
yeah, or
Yeah, that's
taxes to
what I thought,
Saugatuck and Allegan County. So I mean, our city's actual bills that, we're paying
And
out
was
of
that
this.
just discovered or something, or is that just a misprint?
That's a misprint on your agenda. Yeah, I'm not sure what
Okay,
happened
thank
there,
you.
but, yep, so
All right.
apologize for that. So.
It's a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, moving on. No introduction of ordinances, no unfinished business, new business. Item 15A, Shoreline Technology Solutions Managed Service Provider Agreement is on page 63 of your packet.
Mayor.
Yes, I'll get to that real quick. Ryan, do you want to set it up with anything before we have a motion?
Just to say, yeah, we talked about this at your workshop meeting. As you know, there's some kind of security enhancements that are coming through this. I apologize. I know some of you have been kind of caught in some of the transition here with the security enhancements and two-factor authentication on your emails, and we're locked out. So I apologize that we didn't get the word out. They're moving quickly on that. So my apologies on that, but we're seeing some increases. Our last agreement was for 3 years. It's a 2-year agreement that will at least lock in these prices for the next 2 years, but also offer some security enhancements and some additional software upgrades for our internal server.
All right, do I have a motion?
Yes, that, by the way, yeah, I'll make the motion. Shoreline Technology Solutions I'm sorry. I'd like to approve the Shoreline Technology Solutions Managed Service Provider Agreement as written in our packet.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, just to make sure to clarify for my knowledge as well as the public. So we essentially have an increase of $10 per user per month. That's part of the contractual agreement. We have how many users?
9.
9 users. So that will effectively increase each user's fee monthly by $10. So for a total of,
$90. Yep.
I'm sorry,
Will be $90 per month. for
$90
that.
per
Yep.
person per month.
No,
No,
$90.
$90 total per month.
Right.
Dollars per person, 9 people, 9 times 10,
No, it's an increase of $10 per user per month.
right?
And there's 9 users.
Correct.
So you're looking for the total amount? Okay, so the
Oh.
total then will be $55
Okay,
times
thank you.
9, which would be $495 a
Okay.
month.
And then the $35 a month would be on top of that
Correct.
for increased security,
So,
which would essentially raise it to $90.
so the advanced security plan at $35 per user, 9 users is $315 a month.
Yeah. I'm in support of it. I'm still trying to understand I know there's some training and there could be some additional resources available. The thing that I'm mostly concerned about, and I'm not sure this is it, is that, not that Saugatuck is going to be on anybody's radar to be hacked, but that is the world that we're living in. And anywhere there's vulnerability, whoever the actors are going to take advantage of it. So that would be something as a government, small town government, I would want to be assured that we're doing, and STS is doing everything they possibly can, and that the staff's behavior is supporting a completely secure environment. So public records are public, but if the private information is not at risk.
Right.
So not that we're a target of anybody, but I think that's an assurance that people want to.
Yeah, you're spot on, Councilmember Gardner. I think this is exactly kind of the discussion I had with our IT and frankly, he was uncomfortable without us, having these measures, I guess, going forward, some pretty, two-factor authentication, additional password options and changes, some additional programming that's kind of locking our system down so we're not downloading malicious items, some additional assessments that they're doing, training of staff. Things that a lot of organizations, probably such as yours in your workplace have done a long time ago, and we're smaller, but still very much, I think, I don't know, could be a target. We have a lot of sensitive information, bank account information, personal personal information of our employees and others that interact with us. Attorney-client privilege materials, we're in a lot of litigation right now. Certainly, we want to do what we can to at least protect our systems.
All right, any other questions or discussion items?
I think it's long overdue. And I was very impressed with the staff. I mean, I had sent, after our workshop, I'd sent you an email saying, I can't get in. I think it's because I don't have two-factor authentication. Within 30 seconds of you calling them, I had two people from STS call me. They immediately set me up with this added level of security and had me sorted out within matter of minutes, frankly.
Had the
So
exact same experience on Friday. Things went very well.
very
Yeah.
impressed. And it's, yeah.
Getting good service from
I
them.
never like to talk about like IT security because it's almost self-defeating to talk about it, but I really think that what these guys do is pretty good and it's long overdue is I think all I'll say for us.
Okay, all right, anything else?
We've had a work relationship for quite a while with them, right?
Yeah, my understanding is like we were there either their first or one of the very first customers when they started many, many years ago. Yep.
Right.
So-
And I also want to echo, I did have to reach out and from the email compromise or whatever you want to call it, and was able to get back in. They were very friendly. And just within a matter of a couple minutes, I was right back in. So I did pass on the phone number to Russ so that he can start reading his emails again too.
I got into it and
Apologies.
I tried to do my best efforts to be in my own IT department. And so far I've failed. So I'll be
All
on the number tomorrow.
All right, it's a roll call vote.
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Muncy?
Yes.
Stanton?
Yes.
And White?
Yes.
All right. And we are now moving on to item 15B, the Water System Operations Contract Advisory Committee. It is on page 70. The motion is on page 71. But Ryan, if you could talk about this a little bit before we take a motion.
Yeah, that's certainly, Mayor, you as a council are aware, Eagle is, a while back sent a letter indicating that each constituent municipality, Douglas, Saugatuck Township, the city of Saugatuck, and Cal Lake need to come up with a water operations agreement that meets certain, state standards. So work's been going on with that last year. A lot of the township and city managers were meeting with a consultant from Baker Tilly at the time, Andy Campbell, who's since left Baker Tilly, but expert in his field, great at what he does. Frankly, we worked it out with Baker Tilly, so we can continue working with him because of all the knowledge that he's gained so far in working on this particular project. But anyways, a framework for a water operations agreement was put together and passed on to Cal Lake back in November. And then Cal Lake and their attorneys and management kind of took it from there and worked on drafting an agreement. And then their board has spent several meetings reviewing that and then has approved a draft to at least kind of come back to each constituent municipality to review. And so the township and Douglas have formed kind of a separate water systems, committee. Each of them have done that. You have a mechanism under your city charter to do the same and to form an advisory committee. This would involve essentially kind of sitting down with me and looking through this agreement piece by piece. It's very thick, very lengthy, and it will take some time and looking through the details. And then a lot of our meetings with our municipal partners and hopefully kind of get this water operations agreement across the finish line here. So I've asked the mayor to form this committee and you've agreed and made your recommendations on who to appoint.
Yes. Do I have a motion at this point?
Mayor,
Yes.
I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Yeah, it's on page 71 in your packet.
Right. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Unless somebody else would like to.
I'll make the
Thank you.
motion.
Thanks, Scott.
Motion to create the Water System Operations Contract Advisory Committee and to appoint Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin and Councilmember Gardner to the committee.
Do I have a
Second.
second? All right. Any discussion? I do want to say, Councilmember Gardner, thank you for, saying that you would like to be involved, and Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin, you look at a lot of contracts, so I appreciate your willingness to be a part of this. It's an important committee, and it's going to take some time, and I really appreciate you guys' willingness to be a part of it.
Happy to do it.
All right, any more discussion? All right, this is a Roll call vote.
Sorry.
Yep, you're okay.
Butler,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Carter.
Do I say yes or abstain? It's in my interest, right? I'll say yes.
I was gonna say, I don't know if it's our interest.
Muncy.
Yes.
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 Okay. All right. On to public comment on anything you wish to speak on tonight. If you want to start from the audience and then we'll go online after that.
Good evening again. I just wanted to remind everyone, as as Ryan already said, this Thursday, 7 PM, we will have the planning commission meeting. So only thing on our agenda is the public hearing for the changes for the zoning regarding short-term rental. I've had numerous people contact the city, I've been told, as well as myself, saying that they are not aware that this is taking place. So I just want to document it once again that we have sent out emails with the packet. Anyone who has short-term rentals, I would think, has probably been following this and should be aware. So just here in public comments, just to let everyone know if they're listening or if they do watch this meeting, that they are welcome at the meeting Thursday, 7 PM for the public hearing for the ordinance changes on short-term rental. And thanks to Ryan and the team for all the communications that have gone out. And the idea when somebody was talking about doing mailings to everyone, I think that goes beyond what the city or, any of you should be responsible for as far as, communicating directly with. And I think that kind of goes against, sometimes you'll hear some of the individuals think that you should, but then you have to start asking yourself, is that really the city's responsibility? It's a homeowner who has the license and it's up to them to kind of follow up with what's going on. And I strongly feel that. And so I thank you guys for that.
All right, Steve, thanks.
Thanks, Steve.
Anyone else in the audience? Okay. Anyone online with their hand raised? I don't see anyone. All right. You saw the correspondence there from Dick Waskin. Now on to council comments. Let's start with Logan this time.
Russ and I are throwing a hoot nanny.
A hoot nanny.
We got a real hoot nanny going on this weekend down on Spear Street, so if you hear a ruckus, come join us. There's gonna be some pig. There might be some live music. We'll see what happens. Good.
No fireworks.
No fireworks.
Lasers?
And thank you for approving that during my absence. Also, first shout out for the Saugatuck Film Fest. It's coming up in a few weeks here, September 14th down at the Women's Club. Our submissions have doubled this year. We're picking up a lot of steam. It's going really well. So we're about to launch our marketing for that. But if you're into film and fun and the likes of that, you'd be in for a good time. You chose to come to that. Also, I'm good. I'm gonna end it there.
Okay.
The rest is weird.
All right. Okay. You're like, this is weird, not saying it. Thanks, Logan. Gregory.
Just to remind everybody, summer's not over. There's still plenty of great fun things happening between Saugatuck and Douglas. And want to thank Laura Durham for Movie in the Park. We had a great time last Friday with the big screen and we watched Wonka. And it was a free event provided by Laura. She's done that for about, I want to say 8 years maybe. But that was a great event. And also thank Kimberly Badrak, CJ's wife, CJ who serves on our planning commission, for her bacon popcorn. If you haven't had it, you'll have to ask her how to make it. Also, going on this week, Music in the Park, 7 to 9. That's of course happening at Wicks Park, but don't forget the annual sidewalk sale. We want to get those deals, and that's this Thursday between 10 and 5 here in downtown Saugatuck. So come check out the downtown for our annual sidewalk sale. Looks like there might be rain, but it is rain or shine. So whatever it is, we'll still be out there. And then finally, over at our friends in Douglas, we'll have Beats on Berry that same Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m. It's kind of been like their version of Music in the Park that they've done a couple times this year. They'll have the musical band Wealthy Soul will be performing, and that's another free family-friendly event. Again, summer's not over. There's still lots of fun to be had here in Saugatuck and Douglas.
Thanks, Gregory. Scott.
Yeah, I'll just say it again. I really think, I feel terrible for our neighbors and our friends in Douglas to have this huge infrastructure project that they're going to have to deal with. But I think it just needs to be said again that it's a public safety issue for the people in Saugatuck. And I think we need to continue as a team to engage robustly on this matter, because it's more than just a infrastructure project. It's a public safety concern for our city.
All right, Scott, thanks. Helen?
Yeah, two things. I want to remind everybody that Ryan's brought it up earlier that Nikki, our new treasurer, has started. I had the privilege and pleasure to interview her, as did Mr. Gardner. And I think that she's going to be a wonderful addition. So if you have an opportunity to stop in and say hello to her, you should do that. Also, I want to thank Douglas. Again, I know that this is a tough thing. I work with Rotary on the Mount Bald Head Challenge, and they are doing a really good job of working with us. We've got 600 runners. The Mount Bald Head Challenge, I don't know if you're aware of this, it's the sole funder for the Boys and Girls Club that so many kids in our community avail themselves of. And that's the only way that we can fund that is through that. There was some concern that initially we might even have to cancel it after having such banner year and getting 600 runners. We typically raise about $120,000 we clear to, like I said, fund this program. And they've worked with us and that's why I asked about the pedestrian thing. So now we're gonna have to work with where they're scheduling meetings to have, how we're gonna get these runners down to Oval Beach. We've got a lot of good ideas and I think that, they really are working hard and I know it's frustrating. Again, like I said, I live River West. I'm the first one to hop on the bandwagon to complain. But I gotta believe that together we can solve this problem and I look forward to being part of the solution on that.
Okay. Russ?
Yeah, thank you. Two items, just for something for the council to start to focus on, in my opinion, is one is we discussed during the hiring process for Ryan Cummins that we would have a meeting to discuss the city manager's goals and objectives. I'd like to see that on a workshop agenda here. And then two is considering the concern that there was around conflict of interest with the short-term rental vote, I would ask that we do put on the agenda an update of the City of Saugatuck Code of Ethics and Code of Conduct.
Anything else? All right. At this point, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say yes.
Yes.
We're gonna have to get more chairs for Thursday night.
I was gonna suggest.
Well,
leave that.
my responsibility.
I don't know, maybe I'd still